7 days after Honey's transition, I received a profound and unexpected communication. Hello, Divine Soul. Welcome to the last video of our series about overcoming the loss of a companion animal, a family animal that for many of us is like a child. In today's video, we're talking about communication with animals. And I know this is a video, a topic that was expected um, for many of us because, at least for me, when I started doing my meditation and working on uplifting my energy after Honey's transition, um, one reason was because I had promised her that I was going to be okay. And the other reason was also because I was eager to communicate with Honey as soon as possible. I had some other experiences in the quantum, holding spaces for people where loved ones who had transitioned had communicated, but I've never had held this space intentionally for a communication with someone who was not living in a body until Honey's transition. So I have a lot to share here about this. But what is communication with animals? Communication with animals is a bit different from the communication that we are used to do between humans using language, English, Portuguese, Spanish, or all the words that we say. When we are communicating with animals, if they are living a body, we might still speak to them, right? I would all the time with Honey, and I do with my current animals, and they respond to. For those who are here, and I suppose you are like me because we tend to attract like-minded people, you might also speak to your animals and they might speak back on their way to you. They communicate more with body language, but sometimes they might even speak some languages here and there. Honey, for example, she would say and to us. Saying or acknowledging something that we had said, and was a huge no-no of something that she didn't want to do. But if we're present and if we allow ourselves to let go of the small, lower mind, and we open ourselves to our higher minds, to our higher selves, I, mind, perspective, and we see the world, including the animals, from our soul's view and not from the human brain, we might be able to perceive so many and understand so many ways of communication that happens with body language, with their way of communicating with us, animals specifically. I usually joke at home that we think we're training the animals to do what we expect them to do, and I think we might train them here and there, but I do believe that they train us more to answer the way that they expect. So they're really patient with us. Well, jokes aside, so when the animal is not communicating, if with the body, an animal like Honey that has transition, you can also communicate with them. What we need to do in that aspect, beyond letting go of seeing the world from the human perspective and everything being surrounded the human point of view, everything needs to be in the human way. Besides that, what we need to do is let go of the matter, let go of the need to have the communication based on our senses. The communication might not necessarily happen that way. Usually is telepathic, using our psychic abilities, and we might still smell something. Many of us have that ability, or listen something with our ears, or we might just have an inner knowing of what's going on. We might see with our mind's eye, which is our intuition. So there are many different ways that this communication can happen. But the most important thing is to let go of the lower mind, the need of seeing the world in a specific way, seeing the world and the communication and the animal so much connected to the matter, and letting go of control of how this communication should or must happen. Because if we're talking about this kind of communication, we must. I usually don't use this word should and must. So when I do, they are really necessary. We must be open to interpret the signs that are being sent to us. Yeah, I do believe that we are interpreting what is sending, because um, even before we do our communication with words here, we communicate with energy. Energy is everything and is around everything and is part of every single communication. We could be just sitting here looking at each other and still be communicating. So when we are doing this communication with animals, if they're in a body or if they are not in a body anymore, we are communicating through energy, through waves. And we receive the signs. But this is such an important aspect, because if we receive the message from and interpret it from our lower mind, we might be approaching this message from the ego's approach instead of approaching it from the higher mind, from the higher self's approach, which is what we want. So we need to tune in, we need to ground ourselves, center ourselves, and balance, and do all of that to be able and work on ourselves, to our personal beliefs and thoughts and emotions, our the whole system that we are running, right? Our programs, to be able to interpret the message to the most pure way that it was sent to us. And for that, we need to see with our higher mind. So that's very important. We are interpreting. We are not receiving exactly words. We might see words, or it's hard to put in a box this kind of communication, because there's so many different ways that the message can arrive to us. But the big picture is that we are receiving waves of energies, and when we receive those messages, we are interpreting what is being sent. So it's important that we allow ourselves to see these messages and how we want to interpret it, from the lower or the higher mind, from the ego or from the higher self, from fear, doubt, judgment, or from the divinity approach of abundance, peace, and love. That said, it's something very important that we need to talk about. Why the animals communicate with us after they transition. It could be for closure. It could be for acknowledging our messages, prayers, our moment, our love that was sent to them when they were alive or after they transition. It could be to send also some love, guidance, anything that we might be needing that moment, for many different reasons. And when is the right time to communicate with your animal? Anytime you feel you want to. There is no right or wrong here. So we're going to talk about 4 different ways that I've been using to communicate with Honey. And what I say is, try them out, see what works for you, see what is calling you, adjust what you need to adjust. This is not black and white. Nothing here must be like that, besides when I used must and should, because I do believe that that's part of the work. But anything else can be adjusted. It should be flexible. Okay, should be flexible to the way that fits you. Let me see if I say everything. If I said everything. Yes, I did. That's awesome. So how to communicate with animals? The first thing that we can do is talking to them as we would when they were living in a body. So, for example, I usually talk to them during breakfast or before bed. I would talk to them sometimes during the day, just say, "Oh, I love you, you're so cute." I still do that with Honey. And if you feel called, do that as well during your day. If you feel like you want to tell your dog, your cat, or any kind of animal that you had a transition, something that you would say if they were living a body with you, do that. Say, mentally think about it, or even out loud. I say sometimes out loud, and my husband already sees it to me saying that. He just smiles when he enjoys it. But sometimes I just out of the blue say, "Honey, I love you." It might be because she's near and I'm feeling her presence. It might be because I'm missing her. It might be because I just want to share my love with her. Doesn't matter the reason. It needs to be said, and I trust myself and do that. And if you feel the call, do the same. This is going to help because it also helps us to assess our emotions, to not keep everything within and, speak about what's happening and what we're feeling, what we want to share. But also, independent of your animal being with you or not, I do believe they visit us here and there. But independent of your animal being that moment that you feel you want to talk to them or not, just the fact that you are speaking to your animal, they are going to receive the message because they are sensitive, and again, they might not listen because they don't have ears anymore to listen. They're not in a body, but they are going to receive the waves, the energy, the message that you are sending. And that's good for you too because it helps you to put it out there. So it helps you to deal with your emotions, but also they are living in a soul, they are living in spirit, and they're going to receive your love. They're going to receive a memory. Maybe you're doing something that reminded you of something they liked to do or they liked to eat. Talk to them as if they were with you, because if they are there appreciating your message, um, if they're not around at that moment, they're going to receive the message anyway, because that's how energy works. We do not need to be under the same roof to be sending each other one another message, right? We can still send the messages being completely different places in the world or living or not in a body. The second way of communicating is asking for signs. I know we talked about this already, but asking for signs is extremely powerful and it's very comforting too. So I would ask for signs for Honey, anything, and Honey sent sign even on the day that she did the transition. Different signs from rainbows to hummingbirds and feathers, white feathers, all kinds of signs that were beautiful. So ask for the signs, and you can also set an intention and ask for something that might be meaningful to you. For example, I use the white feathers to ask for Honey's communication, and they appear on my path in days that I least expect, but they're meaningful because something happened that is connected to Honey somehow. And then there is a feather, a white feather, or anything else. You are going to know within. So do not question if you feel that little, little soft warm in your heart and it reminded you of your animal. That's their sign. That's what you asked for. Accept, be grateful, say thank you to them. And set the intention for something that you want, but do not put a lid on a box of how or what this message should be. Like I said, I like the feathers, but they are not the only way Honey sends message to me. So be open to noticing the messages that are arriving. to you from your animal, because there are many. It might be that you are scrolling on social media and you start seeing the name of your animal or something that connects you to your animal, or you listen a song that tells something about your animal, their name or anything. Because technology is really easy for animals to manipulate, to do their communication, and it's something that we are always connected, so it's easy for us to receive too. But look around you, look for all the signs around you, because they are there. And that's why it's also important for us to make the daily time to meditate, because meditation helps us to ground ourselves, to be more present and observe and receive the signs. So be grateful. Remember to be grateful and say thank you. Do not question. If you start questioning a lot, it might be that the signs might come in less amount, less signs, less communication, because spirit, divinity do not question. So trust. If you feel that warmth inside, it's the sign. Just say thank you and appreciate. There's a lot of energy and effort that is put into that. That's the signs that are sent to us. And I feel the least that we can do is, independent of being something that we asked for or not, just say thank you. Thank you for the message. You are gonna know the thing. Another thing that my guides taught me from the beginning was, make sure that you are not making yourself dependent on those messages. What I mean by that, or they meant too, was make that fun and as a way of sharing love, not as something that you need to receive because you need a confirmation. You need to be sure she's okay or they are okay or whatever is happening. Detach. It's a very thin line there that many of us might cross here and there and become dependent and becoming, oh, I need this confirmation. You know, like when you start reading cards and you need to make sure you got the confirmation. No, you don't. You go within your feeling. What you feel in your body? What's your intuition telling you? So the same goes with the communication. It's important that it is healthy communication. So it is important that you are not attached to having to receive the communication to feel good, peaceful, to be, feeling joy or gratitude or comfort. It just do not attach to it. Do not make that be something that you must have to feel or be or do something else. It's just a good thing to have around, okay? The third way of communicating is you can write them a letter. And we talked about journaling before, journaling about your feelings and emotions, or what you're going through, what's happening in your mind, as a way to putting it out there and letting go. But also, you can journal about the signs that you're receiving, because also it's a way to register. I also do that. And I have my journal here. 4 days after Honey passed away, I started making the time daily to communicate with her. So I would get my journal, meditate, and write there in Portuguese, communication with Honey, day one. And I did 4 days after she did the transition, because I wanted to communicate with her. I needed that at that time. And I did not receive a communication with Honey. On the contrary, my guides gave me a lot of lessons, many things that I shared here in this series already, about how to uplift your energy, how to accept, how to, move through all the emotions and everything that is happening during the grief and the loss of an animal. Yes, I shared with you. And I was like, okay, they are preparing me for that, for the communication. Fine. Second day of making the time, following day, next day. I did a bunch of days in a row. I sat there, same thing. August 7, communication with honey. Number 2, nothing. Actually, I received more lessons that I also shared here in the series about when we are missing them too much. It could be that they are around, but we are vibrating on an energy of loss, and that's why we're missing them. We need to calibrate to be able to perceive their presence, and so on and so on and so on. And then August 8th, I did the same communication with honey, sat down, day 3, and I got more lessons. August 9 was the day that was a week that she had passed away. I sat down and I didn't write communication with honey. I just wrote what I was feeling. Today is the 7th day that honey did the transition. I was feeling okay. I had a good day, but now at the end of the day, I'm missing her a lot, and so on and so on. I share what I was feeling. And then I wrote her a letter. That was the first letter that I wrote to her. And I said everything that I wanted. I really wrote the letter for Honey to read. I know she's not going to read, but again, the emotion that is there, she's going to receive those waves, right? And then I wrote more than 2 pages. Everything that I wanted her to know, everything was beautiful. I was like, whoa, I love it. And then at the end of the letter, I asked, can you send me signs, daily signs, as many as you can, please? Tell me how you are, hummingbirds, cardinals, feathers, anything. And my guides were like, keep writing. And I was like, I already did. Hello. I wrote more than 2 pages, a beautiful letter. Draw something, ask for signs. I have nothing else to write. Did you see? I'm done. And they were like, keep writing. And I was like, so I even wrote, I don't know what you want me to write. ... And a little bit after that, it just came. Unexpected. A letter from honey. Beautiful 2 pages letter that I'm not going to read here because I don't think I can read without crying. It's long, and also because everybody that read this letter cried too, which for me is a confirmation, because if it touches their hearts, we don't need anything else to confirm, right? But yeah, I was not expecting that's gonna happen. A week later, after Honey had done the transition, I was aware that I was making the time daily to communicate with her, but I didn't know the communication was gonna come through a letter. I didn't know how that was happening. I just wanted to know how she was. I needed to, hear back from her, and I did. So this is another thing. Go and write, but do not expect that your communication needs to be exactly like mine. Allow spirit to manifest the way that is most beneficial to you. That makes more sense. Because when we detach from how and what, things work. This is like manifestation, right? When we're manifesting something, we ask and then we calibrate ourselves to receive. We let it go. Let the universe surprise us. When, what, how. Usually it's much more than we expected it was going to happen. And the same goes with the communication with your animal. If you feel that you need and want to do the communication, and you deserve that. Everybody, if I didn't say that yet, and I don't think I did, everybody can communicate. You do not need to be a medium. You do not need to be an energy worker. It does help to have some background and practice and experience, but this is practice. This is you making the time and allowing yourself. So allow the time to sit and meditate and allow the space for how that could happen. But if it's signs for a while, or if you receive a letter right away, or if you receive thoughts and any other of the things that we're going to talk here about, receive with gratitude. Let go of how, because when it comes, it's much bigger and meaningful than we were expecting than we thought to be possible. Okay, ask for signs, write them a letter, and the last one. This is one of my favorites. It is sending them images and sensations. So what I like to do, and I'm just sharing what I do because you can adapt to what makes sense to you. But I would hold Honey really close to my heart. So her heart would be here, and her head usually on my shoulder, and would be hugging her and smelling her and loving her. And sometimes I just close my eyes and I imagine her here, and I send that image to her. Sometimes I send an image of her having fun and running after butterflies or after a frisbee that she loved to do, or something that she loved to eat. I know they're not in a body, but it's the sensation, it's the feeling. And they do the same. Honey does the same, sending messages to me also. So it's a good way to communicate, sending images to one another, or sensations or memories. It is really powerful, and you might have such a beautiful vision on your mind's eye of something that happened so clear, so vivid, and that's a way that you guys are communicating, and you can receive the communication through that, and you can also send the communication through that. So big lessons: do not be attached on how it should come, and the frequency that should come either. But I see that this space to communicate with our animals is a great opportunity for us to also learn more about ourselves. It is a good opportunity for us to learn more about our belief systems, our programs, and everything that is running how we live. And reframe beliefs that we might notice coming up, and fears, and whatever it is that is we are showing ourselves that is ready to be released, transmuted, reframed, get a different meaning. And why I say that? Because there was one day that Honey had some of her things in a china cabinet here at home. And the china cabinet opened the door one day. The door was open, and I was like, this door open. And then when they're closed. And then it happened again. The door opened again on another day. And I talked to someone and I said, it has been a few days that Honey doesn't send any signs, any messages, and the door of the cabinet has been open. Like, this is the second time I see that happening. I think she's just saying hi, sending a sign. And the person right away said, oh, you should let her rest and be at peace. And I was like, I didn't answer anything at the time because I needed to think about it. And I did. That was a good learning space for me that I want to share with you. Because I never approached it sending and asking for signs and messages and communicating with animals as a way of bothering them, or not leaving them alone, or not letting them be at peace. On the contrary, I think it's a good way for us to be in touch and share our love with each other, and just say hi and so on. But this tells a lot about the person's beliefs about death and about what happens about after death. Um, so you might face something that happens with you, and just or people around you that might tell you things, and just see that they're just beliefs. You are the one that are entitled to choose if you are going to believe in them or not. Before, when you are living a body, and after you do the transition and are living only in spirit, we have the power to choose what we believe, where we live from. So I do not see communication in that way, but I also see, and my guides made clear to tell me that a thin line about not being depending on the communication, not being attached to having to needing to have the communication. So it's important that we are aware of the place that we're coming when we ask for the communication, because um, one of the most important things that it is light. It is about sharing the love, not coming from suffering, and just being about joy and the love that we had with our animals. We might get emotional here and there. Of course, we're humans, and there is a lot of history there and emotions, but uh, there's a difference on noticing the beliefs that we're grounding, we're coming from. So this was a learning experience for me about, well, I'm not bothering her. I think this is something that we enjoy doing with each other. Um, and it's always an opportunity. This aspect of the communication is an opportunity to look on our own beliefs about mediumship, psychic abilities, communicating with our loved ones at transition, because whew, a lot we can show ourselves about what we believe be possible or what we think it must happen when someone transitions, and might not necessarily be everybody's truth. So take a step back, assess the beliefs, do not be judgmental and say, this is a belief. Do I choose to believe that must be like that or not? You're entitled to do that. Use your personal power and see what speaks to your inner knowing, your higher self. Are you approaching this from your lower mind or your higher mind? And it's always a learning opportunity for us to expand even more our consciousness and even reframe some old beliefs that might not be more a match to where we are, to where humanity is, to where the planet is, and the whole consciousness is. Because as we expand the way that we approach communication with loved ones and things that transition can expand it too. What is important to do this communication? Like I told you before, daily meditation. We need to ground, center, expand her die, and be able to notice that. That's essential. Also, letting go of doubt. Do not question the signs. If you feel that comforting, if you feel in your heart that warm, trust it, say thank you, acknowledge the sign, trust yourself, trust your abilities, practice, 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 make the time to it, because you are in a body, living in a time, we have time here, so it is important that we make the time for it. And be curious, approach it with joy, um, trying to see, like with a child's eye, without that judgment, without all the beliefs that maybe were given to us from family, society, religion. Approaching like, what could that be? What could that mean? What is that about? So those are what I would tell you to do. I suggest that you do an experiment and see what's working for you. Adjust anything that you need to. Leave any comment, question, and insights that you had below. And this is the last video of the series, but some people send me some questions, so I'm going to record another one answering those questions. And before we finish this video, I would like to say thank you to you for being this journey with me. It's been meaningful, and I truly hope from the bottom of my heart that this is helping you somehow to reconnect with yourself, your animal, and to digest whatever needs to be digested, and to live in a better way, more meaningful way, honoring your loved animal, your fur baby. And yeah, I'm so grateful to be part of your journey, and thank you so much. Take care.